You're standing in the skincare aisle. You've done this 100 times. The products with the minimalist packaging and the serif fonts are at eye level, the ones that cost $45 and come in a jar the size of a teacup. Below them, at knee height, are the things in the big utilitarian tubs, the ones that look like they belong in a hospital supply room. And every single time you reach up, I did this for years. I reached up. I was in the industry, I knew better, and I still reached up, because the theatre of it, the weight of the jar, the crisp embossing, felt like evidence of quality. It isn't. That's the thing I want to spend the next few minutes showing you. There are 8 products I'm going to walk you through today, all of them sitting in that lower register of the shelf, all of them available for under $15. Most of them for under 10. And the one I'm saving for the very end of this list, the one at number 8, doesn't just beat the expensive creams. It was developed by the people who make the expensive creams decades ago, before the marketing machine decided you needed to pay more for it. But first, I need to give you the single idea that unlocks all of this, because once you have it, you'll never look at a moisturizer price tag the same way. When you buy a premium skincare product, you're paying for 2 completely separate things, the formula and the theatre. The formula is the combination of humectants, emollients, and occlusives that actually do something for your skin. The theatre is everything else, the glass jar, the editorial campaign, the celebrity dermatologist endorsement, the retail real estate in a Sephora. And here is the part that should make you set down whatever you're reading. Those 2 things have almost nothing to do with each other. The formula that costs a manufacturer 40 cents to produce can be identical, molecule for molecule, to one inside a jar that retails for $200. The jar costs more to make than the cream. I learned this working inside the industry. In Korea, where I came up professionally, there is a long-standing cultural habit of reading the ingredient list the way a cook reads a recipe, looking for what's actually there, at what concentration, in what order. That habit travels. It doesn't matter whether the product was made in Seoul or Cincinnati. The label tells you what you need to know. So every product on this list had to clear 3 tests. An honest formula, the right ingredients, not just the right words on the front label. Real accessibility in actual drugstores, not just theoretically. And genuine value, meaning the formula per dollar puts the expensive stuff to shame. Let's get into it. We'll start with number 1, and I'm going to be direct. If you've been walking past this for years, you've been leaving money on the table. Gold Bond Ultimate Healing Cream, the big yellow tub. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking of foot powder and summer camps and grandparents. Gold Bond has an image problem, and that image problem has been one of the great financial gifts in the history of the beauty industry. Because while consumers trained on prestige skincare have been dismissing it, the formula has been quietly excellent. Gold Bond is owned by Chatham, a Tennessee company that French pharmaceutical giant Sanofi acquired in 2010 for about $1.9 billion. Yes, a major pharma company. The formulation philosophy reflects that Gold Bond Ultimate Healing Cream contains 7 moisturizers, including glycerin, petrolatum, dimethicone, plus vitamins A, C, and E. These are not exotic ingredients. They are the workhorses of barrier repair. Dermatologists have been recommending petrolatum as the gold standard occlusive for decades. You are getting serious, well-structured moisture protection in a tub that costs around $7. The limitation is worth mentioning. Some formulas in the Gold Bond Ultimate line contain fragrance, which can be an issue for reactive or rosacea-prone skin. Check the label. The fragrance-free options in the line exist, and those are the ones I'd point you toward. The formula was never the expensive part. Number 2 is for the person who thinks that because something has been around since their mother's medicine cabinet, it must be hopelessly old-fashioned. Lubriderm Daily Moisture Lotion. Originally developed by a pharmacist in 1945, originally used in clinical settings, not even sold to the general public until 1975. The brand was eventually acquired by Pfizer. Then Johnson & Johnson picked it up in 2006 as part of a larger deal. When J&J spun off its consumer health division in 2023, Lubriderm went with it into the new company called Kenvue, which Kimberly-Clark has since agreed to acquire in a deal announced in late 2025 that's expected to close around mid-2026. So this humble lotion has passed through the hands of some of the largest healthcare companies on earth. What stayed constant through all of that? The formula. Lubriderm Daily Moisture is a light, fast-absorbing lotion with a glycerin and petrolatum base, fragrance-free, non-comedogenic, and dermatologist recommended. It's around $7 for a 16-ounce bottle. The price per ounce comparison against any prestige daily moisturizer is almost embarrassing. Apply it while your skin is still slightly damp from washing, a habit Korean skincare practice has emphasized for decades, and you'll get better absorption out of it than you'd get from a drier application of something 50 times more expensive. For very dry skin over 50, it may not be rich enough on its own. Layer it under a heavier cream at night if you need more. But as a daytime option, it is steady, trustworthy, and underestimated. Number 3 has a story that I find genuinely remarkable, and it's the story of a company that has never been bought, that has never been absorbed, that exists because 2 pharmacists at a Minnesota hospital decided in 1974 that the products available for people with sensitive skin simply weren't good enough. Vanicream Moisturizing Cream, Pharmaceutical Specialties, Incorporated. That's the parent company, was founded by Conrad Thompson and Edward Mansfield, who at the time were both working at a hospital and formulating products in collaboration with dermatologists. They formed the company in 1975. PSI is still an independent, privately held company based in Rochester, Minnesota. In a skincare industry where nearly everything has been absorbed by L'Oreal or Procter & Gamble or Beiersdorf, that independence is almost startling. There is no conglomerate extracting value here. There is a company that still exists because dermatologists kept recommending the product. Vanicream. Moisturizing cream is formulated without fragrance, dyes, parabens, lanolin or formaldehyde releases. It has earned the National Eczema Association seal of acceptance. For skin over 50, when the barrier function has naturally thinned, when reactivity can increase, when you've perhaps developed sensitivities you never had in your 30s, this level of clean formulation matters. It's a thick, rich cream, highly occlusive, and it comes in a tub for under $10. The one honest caveat: Vanicream is more readily available at Walmart, Target, and Amazon than at every pharmacy. Availability is regional, so check your local options. But for what it is, an independent, dermatologist-developed, genuinely fragrance-free barrier cream at a fraction of what La Mer charges, it deserves a place on your radar. Number 4 is where the ownership story gets interesting in a different way. Eucerin Original Healing Cream. This is Beiersdorf, the German company, that also owns Nivea, La Prairie, and Aquaphor, a Hamburg-based multinational that's been doing dermatological skincare since a chemist named Isaac Lifshitz patented the emulsifier that became Eucerin in 1902. Not 2002. 1902. The Hertz family, through their holding company Maxinvest, controls roughly 50% of Beiersdorf shares. This is not a hot startup. This is a skincare company that has been focused on dermatology for over 100 years. What does that continuity buy you? A formula for Eucerin Original Healing Cream, built around petrolatum, glycerin, and mineral oil, three of the most well-studied moisturizing ingredients in dermatology. It's fragrance-free. It's thick. It absorbs without leaving a significant residue. And it costs around $7 for a 2-ounce tube, or less per ounce if you go for the larger pump bottles. For anyone dealing with hands that crack in winter, elbows, or particularly dry patches that a lighter lotion just doesn't reach. And skin, in our 50s and 60s, often has those patches, especially on the shins and hands. This is one of the most effective barrier creams available without a prescription. Eucerin also makes a line called Roughness Relief, specifically formulated with lactic acid for areas of very rough, keratotic skin. That's a different product, but worth knowing about if that's a specific concern. Beiersdorf isn't going anywhere, and neither is Eucerin. Decades of institutional knowledge delivered in a no-nonsense tube. Let's pause for a moment in the middle of this list, because number 5 is where I want to say something about what we're actually talking about. Aveeno Daily Moisturizing Lotion. This one might surprise you because Aveeno isn't exactly obscure, but it is consistently underestimated by people who've upgraded to more expensive options and dismissed it as entry-level. Aveeno is owned by Kenvue, the same company that owns Lubriderm and Neutrogena. Kenvue was spun out of Johnson & Johnson in 2023 and is now in the process of being acquired by Kimberly-Clark, yes, the Kleenex company, in a deal agreed in November 2025. So Aveeno's corporate family tree is genuinely winding. What hasn't wound is the formula. The active ingredient story here is colloidal oatmeal. Aveeno has built its identity around it, and the science is solid. Colloidal oatmeal has been studied extensively for its barrier-supporting and anti-inflammatory properties. The FDA actually classifies it as a skin protectant active ingredient, which is not a designation given lightly. The daily moisturizing lotion is fragrance-free, glycerin-based, with a lightweight texture that layers beautifully under other products. It provides clinically tested 24-hour hydration. I want to be direct about what it is and isn't. It's a lotion, not a cream, which means for very parched skin, it may work better as a daytime layer with something richer at night. But for the person who wants something lightweight, fragrance-free, and backed by real research into oat extract mechanisms, not marketing poetry about oat extract, Aveeno Daily Moisturizing Lotion is a sleeper. It has been there the whole time, doing real work. The formula was never the expensive part. The bottle that says Aveeno is just more honest about it. Number 6 is where I get to tell you about a brand that almost no one in the Western skincare conversation knows by name, even though it is the #1 brand for sensitive skin in Japan, a market that has spent 40 years developing some of the most refined dry skin science on earth. Curel Intensive Moisture Cream. Curel is owned by Kao Corporation, a Japanese company founded in 1882 that also owns Jergens, John Frieda, Biore, and Molton Brown, among others. Kao acquired Curel in 1998 from Bausch & Lomb. Yes, the contact lens company originally had it, and immediately began using it as a vehicle for their ceramide research. The key technology is what Kao calls a ceramide functioning ingredient, a pseudoceramide that mimics the structure of naturally occurring ceramides in skin. Ceramides are lipids that form part of the skin's barrier structure. As we age, ceramide levels in skin decline, and that decline is directly correlated with increased transepidermal water loss, the technical term for your skin simply losing moisture to the air. This is not a brand paying lip service to ceramides. The ceramide research at Kao has been ongoing since the late 1980s. In Japan, the full Kural line spans over 60 products and has held the top position in the sensitive skin category since 2008, according to sales data. In the United States, you can find Kural Intensive Moisture Cream at Walgreens, CVS, Target, and Walmart for around $8 to $11, depending on size. That level of institutional ceramide research in a product under $10, available at the pharmacy. Think about that for a second. The Japanese consumer, paying attention to that science, has known about this for decades. It has been sitting on American drugstore shelves the entire time. Number 7. I want to talk about something that is not glamorous in any way whatsoever, and that is exactly why it belongs on this list. Aquaphor Healing Ointment. I know you know this one. You have probably used it on chapped lips or a minor wound and never thought of it as a moisturizer. That is a failure of imagination, and I'm here to correct it. Aquaphor is owned by Beiersdorf, the same German company as Eucerin, number 4 on our list. Beiersdorf groups them together under their dermatological care umbrella, and the kinship is not accidental. Aquaphor's main active ingredient is petrolatum at about 41%, in a base that includes mineral oil, sericin, panthenol, bisabolol, and glycerin. It is not a traditional lotion. It's an ointment. And ointments, when it comes to barrier occlusion, are the most effective delivery format available. Petrolatum, at over 40% concentration, is about as close as you can get to locking moisture into skin. The way to use this over 50 specifically is to apply it in a thin layer over a damp face or body. Not a thick layer, a thin one. Either as an overnight mask or as a targeted treatment over very dry patches. Applied on top of a serum or a lighter lotion, it seals everything underneath. This technique has a parallel in how Korean skincare practitioners think about layering. The thinnest, most water-based product first, finished with the most occlusive layer to seal. Aquaphor is the seal. The limitation is that it's not a standalone daytime moisturizer for the face. It's too heavy and too shiny for that. But as a targeted nighttime treatment, it is outperforming products at 30 times its price. You can get a 14-ounce jar for about $14. 2 Beiersdorf brands at the bottom of this shelf, doing the work of every glass jar at the top of it. And that brings us to number 8, the one I told you about at the beginning, the one that isn't a dupe and isn't a compromise, and was built by the same people who built the category you've been overpaying for. CeraVe Moisturizing Cream. CeraVe was created in 2005, not by a marketing team looking for a gap in the market, but by people with pharmaceutical backgrounds who were formulating for dermatologists, products that would be recommended in exam rooms, used on skin in clinical settings, where there is, as one of the brand's own executives put it, no margin for error. The formula was developed with an understanding that the skin barrier is not a cosmetic concern. It's a health concern. The formulation centers on ceramides, specifically ceramides 1, 3, and 6. 2, which are the 3 ceramides most important to skin barrier function, along with hyaluronic acid and a patented slow-release delivery technology called MVE, which is designed to continuously release moisturizing ingredients throughout the day, rather than all at once. This is not the same as saying with hyaluronic acid, the way every cream from every brand now says, with hyaluronic acid. The delivery mechanism matters. In 2017, L'Oréal acquired CeraVe, along with Acne-Free and Ambi, for $1.3 billion. Yes, L'Oréal, the same company that makes Lancôme and La Mer's parent Estée Lauder, competes with. That acquisition tells you something. L'Oréal, which knows better than almost anyone what a formula is actually worth, paid over $1 billion for a drugstore brand. They paid for the formula. And you can still buy that formula at CVS for about $17 for the 16-ounce tub. Here is the thing I need you to really hear. When L'Oréal looked at its portfolio and decided it needed to own something in the dermatological skincare space, the thing it chose to pay $1.3 billion for was sitting in the bottom shelf of the drugstore. Not behind a counter, not in a department store. On the bottom shelf next to the foot cream. The people who understand skincare better than anyone had already decided where the real value was. CeraVe is not for everyone. The formula contains PEG-based ingredients that a small number of people react to, and some versions contain niacinamide, which is worth knowing if you have a sensitivity. But for the vast majority of women over 50 dealing with a thinning, drier barrier, the ceramide plus hyaluronic acid plus MVE delivery combination is genuinely among the best moisturizing strategies available. At any price, the formula was never the expensive part. Now, let me tell you how to actually use any of this. If you've never patch tested a new product, start there. A small amount on the inside of your wrist or behind your ear for a few days before applying it to your face. Formulations rotate, ingredients shift, and skin that tolerated something in your 40s may respond differently in your 50s or 60s. This is not a reason to avoid anything. It's just a 30-second habit that saves you a miserable week of irritation. When you apply your moisturizer, apply it on skin that is damp, not soaking wet, but damp. The Korean skincare tradition of applying products immediately after cleansing while the skin still holds some water isn't aesthetic preference, it's chemistry. Humectants like glycerin and hyaluronic acid need water to bind to. Occlusives like petrolatum and dimethicone work by sealing existing moisture in. Give them something to seal. If your skin is very dry, think in 2 layers instead of 1. A lighter lotion or serum first, something like the Aveeno or the Lubriderm, or a hyaluronic acid serum, then a richer cream or a thin layer of Aquaphor or CeraVe moisturizing cream over the top. You don't need 12 steps. You need 2 well-chosen ones. And if you're shopping from this list specifically, be aware that availability is genuinely regional. The Vanicream is easier to find at Target and online than at every independent pharmacy. Curel has good distribution, but isn't in every store. Treat this as a map of what to look for, not a guaranteed shopping list for any one specific store on any one specific day. The formulas are what matter. If you find them in a different size or slightly different packaging, check the active ingredients. Those are what you came for. I want to leave you with one thing that I think changes the whole picture, and it isn't about any of these 8 products specifically. The skincare industry has a way of making you feel that what you're paying for and what you're getting are the same thing. They are not. The glass jar communicates luxury because glass costs more than plastic. The editorial campaign communicates prestige because editorial campaigns cost more than drugstore shelf placement. The celebrity dermatologist communicates authority because that person was paid. None of these things are the formula. None of them change what happens to your skin. I have watched this dynamic from inside the industry for my entire career. The brands I respect most, regardless of where they were made, regardless of whether they carry a French name or a Korean name or a Midwestern pharmaceutical company's name, are the ones where the R&D budget goes into what's inside the packaging. They've earned the attention of a $1.3 billion acquisition because of what was in the tube. Eucerin has been formulating since the early 20th century because dermatologists kept reaching for it. Vanicream has stayed independent for 50 years because the people it was created for, people with sensitive reactive problem skin, needed it to work, not to be beautiful. Korean beauty, at its best, taught a generation of consumers to read the ingredient list as the product, not the bottle, not the campaign, the list. That's a habit worth keeping wherever the product was made. The cream was never the expensive part. You always had the right instinct. You just needed permission to trust it. Here's what I want from you. Tell me in the comments which of these you've been quietly using all along and were slightly embarrassed about. And tell me which one you're finally ready to stop overpaying for. Which expensive product you're going to put down and not pick back up. I read every comment, and those conversations are genuinely where the best recommendations for this channel come from. If you're not subscribed, do it now, because what I'm planning next is the one that may genuinely surprise you. We're going to take apart the ingredient lists of 10 products that call themselves clean beauty and find out exactly what that phrase is and isn't doing for your skin. It's not what you think.